Hi, internet. Looked at that before.
What did you say?
I'm excited to be here interviewing you. Let's internet.
Can you hear?
Oh, there's a reverb. Oh, no, there's not.
Yeah, there is.
Looked at that
What did you say?
I'm excited to be here interviewing you. Are you
I feel
playing
like
it back?
I feel like you're talking to a different version of me.
Can you hear? Oh, there's a reverb.
It's
Oh, no,
so
there's
weird.
not.
I don't know how to mute it.
What did you say? I'm excited to be here interviewing you.
I feel like you're talking to a different version. I don't know how to mute.
Oh, there's a reverb.
It's so weird. I don't know how to mute it.
It's like the internet mirror world.
Okay. All right. Jeez Louise. Can you hear me now? You can hear me, right?
Yes, and I don't hear any weird reverb.
It was like you were talking to a different dimension. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that's what it was like. It was like being in multiple dimensions on the
Yeah.
internet. Yeah.
Yeah.
The time-space
Cool.
continuum is
Yeah.
blended together. Oh, geez. So yeah, so this will be our third interview, and I'm just trying to kind of wrap in everything that not everything, but kind of pieces of the stuff that we've talked about before, and find some one or two topics that we can kind of drill in on and see how you've gone through so much stuff in your life, and especially in your childhood, and see how you turned out to be such a lovely and loving and conscious woman. So I'm going to ask some pretty tough questions right off the bat. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So you were diagnosed, and I'm also, again, I'm kind of recalling stuff from past interviews, but if I messed it up in my head or on the paper or whatever, just let me be, you feel free to correct me at any time.
I don't have a twin sister.
Yeah. So you were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. How did that diagnosis come about?
It's interesting because I got diagnosed first, before I got sober, with ADD.
Okay.
And they gave me Adderall. And that was the worst thing ever. It was like giving acid to a schizophrenic, giving somebody with Adderall, giving somebody with post-traumatic stress Adderall. It's not good because post-traumatic stress is chronic anxiety.
So you're just you're focusing on anxiety with Adderall, basically.
Yeah. And alcohol is like liquid anxiety. You're relieved while you're drinking, but then after it increases your anxiety. Yeah. So I was not only pouring alcohol anxiety, I was taking Adderall. It was really bad. So then when I got sober, I had so much anxiety. But I think everybody does when they first get sober. But I really had it bad. So I went to a psychologist. I get confused about which one is the one that diagnoses. And they said I have PTSD. So, which made sense. So then I was able to, just knowing it and then reading all about it and talking to somebody just helps so much.
I totally hear you. Yeah, just understanding this is just something that is a physiological thing in my body, and I can deal with that now.
Yeah. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, I thought only vets have it. And then I was kind of like, who am I to go around? Like, if a vet hears me say I have PTSD, they're going to be like, I saw my friend's head blown off. But then I thought to myself, okay, wait, but it was coming from inside my home. and I was a child. Like they're grown adults, and it's not coming from their home. So then I was able to
Right.
be like, oh, okay, I have PTSD, and be able to like talk about it more. Where before, I really was like, who am I to say I have PTSD?
Yeah,
Like,
I
come
get that.
on, like, yeah. Yeah. So I have
That's a lot.
PTSD. Yeah.
And what what was tell me about kind of the story of how the PTSD, like the stemming of PTSD.
How I got it, or
Yeah. Like
from
what in your childhood resulted in it? Yeah.
from my dad hitting me, uh from
Your
just that
dad
feeling.
hit you?
Yeah, he would hit
Like,
me.
yeah, tell me,
If
like not spanked you.
he would smash me across the face. And he would spank me. He would spank me, kick me. If I sucked my thumb, and he would really whack me for doing that. And I just never knew what he was gonna do. And just mimicking me. And my parents were overly sexual around me. And my dad, that was like really hard. That being overly sexual. Ugh.
Like to each other?
Yeah, like they wanted me in on it, kind of.
That's
You
freaking
know what I
weird.
mean? Like they weren't like they wanted me to know what was happening.
When you were like how old?
All my life, my whole life.
That's pretty strange. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so uncomfortable, and being an only child, having to deal with it sucked. And they never, like, nobody else knows about that. I just had to deal with it on my own. It was really the worst thing. I guess there's worse things, but it was. So that was that. And then I think my parents were overly sexual with me too, a little bit. Like, I think I blocked a lot out, thank God, and I don't really want it to come back.
Yeah.
But I've worked it out with therapy and with ACA.
Yeah.
Like everything that I do remember, I told 7 people in ACA, and so they know my whole story. So it's really beautiful, and I know their story. So when things happen with my mom, they know my whole story, and then I can call them and be like, this is going on, and they, they're there for me. And I know their whole story. It's like the most beautiful thing on the planet. So yeah, but I don't remember exactly. I have memories. Yeah, I have some memories, but nothing totally out of control. But it's still bad. It's still really
Yeah, no, I mean, what it sounds like to me is that basically you were uncomfortable in your home almost all the time.
all the time. Yeah.
I mean, was there ever any time where you felt comfortable, just comfortable or safe?
I felt physically safe when it was just my mother.
Okay.
Which was, thank God, a lot of the time. My dad was
Okay.
not home. So when it was just my mother, but then at night, my mom went to sleep and passed out drinking. So my dad would come home at 4:00 in the morning, and then it would wake me up all the time because I wasn't drinking. I was a kid. So I was woken up every freaking night. And so I never had, I'm only getting like proper sleep now. I never really had proper sleep because then I started drinking. So then I didn't have proper sleep from that. So yeah, sleep is everything to me now. Yeah, but with my mom, her words, I wasn't safe with her words. And it wasn't that she would abuse me like, you're stupid, you're this or that. It was, she wasn't like that. It was, she's emotionally incested me.
Yeah, okay. That was another question. I wanted to kind of hear more about what that means and
Yeah,
how it applied.
I believe her mother emotionally incested her, and probably her mother did it to her. It's probably a whole chain, and they think it's caring. Because
Right.
my grandmother, my mom always told me, you want to be really, you want to be really agreeable, so people want you around. And my mother would be like,
Right.
my mother would be like, she's like, tell me the story about my grandmother. That my grandmother would send my aunt off to school, but keep my mother at home and go do picnics with her and all this other stuff because my mom was agreeable. But so she would tell me to be agreeable, and that yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but it just made me let other people have their way, kind of, so that people would want me around. And she would even say that, like, don't be the squeaky wheel. You want to have people around and be excited to see you.
Yeah.
So that was awful. But also my mom, so my grandmother triangulated my mother and her sister, like talked about each other to each other. So that is emotional incest. And my mom talking about my dad was she triangulated me and my dad. So my dad and I,
she would try to turn you guys against each other, and that's what you mean by it.
Chance. My dad and I never had a chance because my mom would talk garbage about each other, us both, to each other. So we both hated each other.
That's
and
a lot.
I hated him for who he was. But my mom, I hated him on his own accord. I didn't realize my mom was triangulating. I didn't know that till I studied it and learned it. But
very Cersei Lannister kind of move here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so emotional incest is when somebody pits like two people in the family against each other.
Yeah, and just telling me too much. Like I I remember she had writing on her stomach. Did I tell you this already? She had writing on her stomach one day, or just black marks, and I was like, "What is on your stomach?" And she was like, and let me tell you, she was a repressed, like, to everybody else. She wore Talbots and was repressed, and like, oh, I would never do that. Like she is just like a repressed New Englander. Like, but to me, she's like, oh, I wrote on my body, take me, I'm yours, to your father. But at least it was to my father, it wasn't strangers. But like, I was a child, don't tell me that. Like, make something up. And so I wasn't safe in that way. Like, I would just be like, oh, like everything she said, I was like, ew, ugh. Like, so I wasn't safe with her words, but they weren't aimed at me.
Yeah, right. I see.
Yeah, but she never complimented me. I only heard compliments when she was talking to other people about me, because she was narcissistic and taking the ownership of me, but she never complimented me to me. But what's funny is in AA one day, because all right, so I allowed my higher power into like getting me sober and all this other stuff. And one day I was like, I gotta allow higher power in other areas of my life. And in my head, I was like, higher power, take me, I'm yours. And I'm like, why does that sound so weird? And then I was like, ugh, I remembered my mom having written it on her stomach. Like I was having this beautiful moment with my higher power.
Oh. It's crazy because like the stuff that's happened in your life, it's like any one thing or any, like, it's like right on, all of it's kind of like right on the edge. Like, it's like the stories might not sound like crazy, like by themselves, or if you just heard like a little part of it or something, but it's like, it is over the freaking edge. Like, it's, and it's a lot of different things. So it's just,
my mom, did I tell you my mom wore my cheerleading uniform?
Tell me more.
Just at Halloween, she wore it, but she went on and on and on about how it fit her, and it was just, I felt uncomfortable about it. I didn't understand
That's so
why. And
weird.
then I told
That's
people
so
later,
weird.
and they were just like, "Ugh, Jackie, it's awful." I was 12. I was 12.
Oh my Lord, that is so crazy. So,
And my
um,
dad he did hit me bad once, but mostly it was like slaps and spanks, and didn't know when it was gonna happen, and kicks
yeah,
and mimicking me and calling me a fool. He's like, "You playing the fool?" But one time he sat on top of me and was just like really punching me, and I had a cut under my eye. And my mom just went to sleep. That was the whole thing. My mom didn't save me. She would just be like, "Bill, stop. Bill." Like,
and then went to sleep.
yeah. Like if it was me, I would take the frying pan, slam the person over the head with it.
I mean, how is she gonna? I mean, she just was like, I'm going. I'm. Do you think that was her way of dealing? Like she.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I'll never forget that moment in my life. Just being like, I couldn't believe she went to sleep. I couldn't.
I can't. That's.
And then the next day, she was like, "Your dad hit you because you didn't clean your room. He said it was disrespecting me." Where meanwhile, I have a disease from wanting to dissociate, where it's really hard for me to keep a clean room because
What do you mean?
I dissociate from by distracting myself by keeping obstacles in my way. So that's something else I'm working through with the PTSD and stuff. So I was physically incapable of keeping my room clean because of them. And then I got hit on top.
What did? Is
And
there
then
a
I
what?
got blamed for it. Yeah. Yeah. Without, not comforted, blamed. And then they told me to tell my grandparents that because they were coming to visit because it was my 8th grade graduation. And I had a cut on my eye, and they told me to lie to them.
I mean, yeah, sounds like what would happen, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are people that
Um,
have it way worse.
what?
There are people that have it way worse. But I think,
Yeah,
but kind of because it was so like, it was such mental abuse, like almost like,
insidious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. It was like torture.
I mean, that is torture for a kid to be. Listen, just alone, just the level of like never being sure when your dad is gonna hit you
Yeah.
is that's enough. Like that's over the edge right there. And
Yeah.
then layering all this other stuff on top of it. Like with your parents being alcoholics, what were the kind of the fears when they were drinking? What were some of the things that you feared?
They mostly fought when they were sober. Which
You're
is,
like, maybe the alcohol, I mean, I can't imagine it helped, but
yeah. But when they were drinking, my dad one time almost ran my mom over with a bike, with her. We were at a party and they were both drinking, and my dad had driven. Oh, I had ridden my bike there, and they drove there, and we were there really late. My dad was wasted, and my mom didn't want me riding the bike home, so she rode it home. Well, my dad thought it was so funny to tail her the whole way and almost hit her. So I was like just terrified watching my mom riding the bike in the headlights and him almost hitting her the whole way home. Like that was a nightmare drinking situation.
that's a nightmare. And yeah, no, that's crazy. Also,
And
also,
it's like my trying to do homework. He wasn't home that much, thank God. But like if I asked a question about homework, he would tell me an hour-long story. So by the time he was done, I couldn't do my homework. I just wanted to go to sleep. I was so drained. Like he would never actually help me. Nobody helped me with my homework. My mom did type though once, a couple times.
Did you feel loved?
I did. Not really by my dad. One time in high school, when I graduated high school, and I just barely graduated, I think I told you this, he did tell me he loved me because I didn't get anything for my graduation where everybody else got stuff. And my boyfriend had gotten me a ring, but my family didn't get me anything, where all my friends got cars, trips, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then so I kind of said something about it, and he flipped out about it. And then I went upstairs crying, and he was crying too, and he said he loved me. And that was the only time he ever said he loved me.
And did you feel like did you feel loved when he said it?
I did. I felt that he was expressing to me that he's incapable of it.
Yeah. Right.
Like he couldn't hear, like my friend who died when I was 21, and she suffered so long and fought so hard with cancer, and he couldn't hear that was happening. Neither could my mom. They just couldn't be there for me with it.
So they were not empathetic at all whatsoever.
My mom was empathetic, but she couldn't be there for me. She just couldn't do it. And one time I was like, can you please come with me to see her? Like, it's so much. It was so much for me to take, but it didn't help me. Didn't know what to say.
It sounds like your mom just shuts down emotionally at like anything, basically.
Yeah, but they both started drinking really young. So supposedly you grow, your mentality, your emotional maturity is like when you started drinking. So they're both 13. And then I was like 13 forever too. So yeah. So they didn't know how, but at least my mom could hear me. She knew Nicole was dying. She knew that this was happening. Where my dad was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
My mom wanted to be there for me, but didn't know how.
Right. That's what it sounds like, is that she just, well, and it harks back to some earlier conversations about how you said that you don't know how to handle frustration, or for a long time, you didn't know how to handle frustration because your parents didn't know.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it sounds like that's like not just maybe not just frustration for your mom, but I mean, it sounds like most negative emotions, she would just shut down, basically.
Yeah, she did. She's a rageaholic. They both were.
A rageaholic?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what's that? What do you mean?
She, like now, she just rages and keeps getting kicked off Facebook.
Rages and getting kicked off of Facebook.
I think that's the right side. She hates Trump, but I really, because my dad was a lot like Trump. He was a Republican too, but at least my dad was smart and charming. But my dad was a Republican, and he was not very narcissistic like Trump, like very much. And like, you know how Trump creep behind Hillary? Like, that's what my dad would do around my mom, behind my mom. And then he would pants her in front of me and be like, heh, 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 heh. Oh, it was a nightmare.
Hold on, sorry. Let me tell my sister. I can't talk right now. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, there we go.
Oh wait, I forgot where I was going with that. My dad.
About empathy and kind of how your dad was narcissistic, and your mom.
Oh well, I'll probably figure it
out.
But it's so but my mom. So my mom with her rageaholic. So I think my mom's taking all her rage from my dad out on Trump.
Your mom was taking all her rage for your dad who died last year, but on Trump on the internet.
Yeah, they've been divorced for a while, but I think all of that rage just went towards Trump, and she keeps getting kicked off Facebook. Yeah. Which she has a right. Like, I'm glad she's on the right side, but it's like, why are you getting so mad? Like, I can't. And it's okay to get mad, but use it for a good purpose.
Yeah.
Like,
I
why?
think the idea of like not acting in anger, like waiting until like letting the anger pass and then doing something is a wise move.
Yeah. Like
If only it was that easy to just do that though.
yeah, right. It is hard to do, definitely. But this is the thing. She has no desire to stop that rage. Doesn't want
Right.
to.
Oh, okay.
Where in me, I'm like, oh God, get this rage out of me. I don't like it.
Right.
But she loves it.
Oh,
Like
that's a good way to describe it.
she told me of something that I blacked out, that because I wrote about it in an article, and she read it and she was like, oh, I just had rage that one time with your video game. And I'm like, I don't even remember that. Like the rage was all the time. And she's like, no, it was just the video game time. And I'm like, what happened at the video game? And I guess I had gotten a video game and it didn't work. And she brought it back to the store and they wouldn't give her money back. And she made this huge scene and then went home and then decided she was going back again. And I was like, please don't yell. She told me this recently. And I was like, please, can you not yell so much? And she was just like, but she would get her way all the time from her yelling. She got them. She's like, well, I got my money back. And she'd be really proud.
She would get her way. She would get her way. Yeah, right. Well, I guess that is usually, I mean, that does work at the stores.
And now she's got Trump to get going. That's something she said. She's like, if I get COVID, I'm running right to Trump, making sure he gets it.
Oh, I'm sure she's not the only one that said that.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh. So now I'm gonna go kind of, I mean, it's kind of same lines, but like just kind of go into your childhood a little bit more and ask you some more about kind of what went on, moving kind of from childhood to more adult life. So you said that you don't well, we kind of talked about how you said you don't have a memory of loving your dad. And your dad never talked to you. Yeah, he would never talk to you. He would never let you talk.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, but also he was really charming to other people. So it was just like this like thing that to you, he would treat you like dirt, basically. And
he treated me like an animal.
Everybody else thinks he's this wonderful, charming, perfect angel. What were some, I put whimsical, but I don't know if that's the right word. What were some whimsical ways you would deal with your parents' narcissism, alcoholism, and emotional incest?
Luckily, praise everything, I had really good friends that were somehow magically always allowed to hang out with me. Like, I don't know, like higher power really put that for me. Higher power was like, she's gonna have shitty parents, and her family, because my immediate family wasn't near me either. But like grandparents, they were all in New Jersey and I was in Rhode Island. So it was just me and my parents. But I had a neighbor, Steven, who I'm still friends with today, who's a big doctor in Manhattan. He's like Patch Adams. He's like
the
like
that's Patch amazing. Adams. Oh, I love him already. Okay, great. Yeah.
Well, he was my next door neighbor, and
he'll be in the documentary, right?
yeah. And he made me laugh all the time. And his mother just like let him be over my house 24/7. And he did my homework. He was really smart. He would empty the dishwasher. My mom would be like, Jacqueline, empty the dishwasher. And he would run downstairs. And my mom would be like, Steven, don't empty it. Let her do it. And he would be like, she's just going to make me do it anyway, Mrs. Monahan. And he would empty the dishwasher.
So you would kind of you would find solace in your friends.
He and I laughed all the time.
Laughing. Definitely.
We laughed. And I have like some of his letters. They're so funny from when we were younger. He went to public school and I went to private school. So there was a tree in the middle of our yards, and we would put notes for each other every day to read. And his are so funny. That he's like a genius comedian. And then I had my friend Lynn, and her family were really strict. Her family was like an example of a family that I loved. So like someone, so I went to her mother sometimes for like a feeling of a mother. Like I would have dinner over there. And Lynn was the third child. So her family was really strict, but because they were older with Lynn, they kind of let her stay with me a lot. Like when I think about it now, I'm just like, I can't believe how much they let her stay with me. And I was like magical manipulator. She would call and be like, can I do this or that? And they would be like, no, you need to come home. And I would be like, call back and say this. And she would say it, and they'd be like, okay. Like, I don't know what I would do. And so she was able to like come with me on trips all over the place. And my dad had gotten in that car accident, and she was able to come with me away during that time. So I was really, and she was really funny. We did really funny stuff. And we're still really funny. Yeah.
Any funny stuff? Any like funny like adventures or anything you could think of?
Did I tell you about the ghost?
No, I don't know, but I love ghost stories.
we both like were crazy. Like anytime it was exam time, we just did something up the walls so that we didn't have to actually study. But so one time I was like, why don't I dress like a ghost and we'll go get gas? So, and she had a convertible. So we drove to the gas station, and she dropped me off down the street. And so she was pumping the gas, and then I was like, woo, and I came around the corner, and somebody said to her like, Halloween, it's not even Halloween, or Halloween's come early this year. And she was like, I know. And then she was driving, and then she was like, come on, ghost. And I jumped in the car and drove off. And all of a sudden all these cop cars drove past us, and we were just like, what's going on? Because there's never cops like that. And all of a sudden they surrounded us. They thought the people that worked at the gas station thought
thought you were robbing them.
They thought I had escaped from a mental institution, and I jumped in her car. But I still lied. I was like, oh, we were doing something for our high school. Like we had to do an experiment. But then they came to the car like with guns pulled.
What? Are you kidding me? Guns pulled because you're a mental patient that escaped? Like that doesn't even make freaking sense.
There were so many cops. It was unbelievable.
Freaking cops and their guns, dude. Like, take it down a notch.
I know. What else did they do? Wait, we did? Her sister babysat me. My dad owned a restaurant, and my mom would go work there till really late, because then they would drink after with everybody. So I had babysitters all the time. So her older sister babysat me, and Lynn and I had costumes. And we had the babysitter dressed like a princess. And Lynn and I dressed as, I was Raggedy Ann and she was a clown. And we hid in the bushes, and we ordered pizza. And we had all these posters for the pizza man, like pizza brings people closer together. We love Benny the pizza man, like all these signs. And then we hid behind the bushes, and the pizza man came. And we started shaking the bushes and going, hee 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 on the bushes. And then this was all me. I orchestrated the whole thing. And then Karen answered the door like, hello, pizza man, in the princess outfit. And she just talked like this the whole time. And then she was like, bye-bye, bye-bye. And then we jumped out and ran around the car like, hee. And then, so then they were obsessed with us, the pizza place. So the pizza man kept coming back.
That is experiential art
Yeah.
and pop-up art.
Yeah. That was our favorite stuff. Yeah.
Flash mob, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So then we had another friend, Tom, and he was able to. Tom was when I finally felt really normal. I felt like Tom could hear me and see me and understood my pain. And because he had an alcoholic dad, and but his dad got sober. His dad got into AA, but he ended up working for like being in a better relationship with my parents than I had. And Tom said recently he thinks that my parents were really worried about me more, and that I was, because I was a rebel. They were really worried about me. But then when they saw my friendship with Tom, they were like, wow, she's really great, because other kids would make fun of Tom, where I gravitated towards him and was a good friend to him.
No.
So then they couldn't nurture me. They were incapable of it. But they nurtured Tom. It was really interesting. They were like I would go out partying and Tom would stay with my mom, and they would smoke and drink. And no, I don't think they would drink. Tom wouldn't drink. Tom didn't drink till he was 21. They would play cards and just wait for me to come home really late.
So why do you think, but you weren't ever like that? To me, that could mean as a child, it could be almost worse, because you're like, well, you are capable of nurturing someone. Why aren't you capable of nurturing me, your child?
Yeah. I mean,
but you didn't have any of that?
No, I'm sure I did. And I'm sure I still do. Like, my mother is better friends with my ex-wife than with me.
Like, so what do you think that is? I mean, why do you think? So, I mean, that is, it's still confusing to me, is like, why were they able to care for him in a way that they couldn't care for you?
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll need the psychiatrist
I know.
guest for that.
I think that we just can't really relate.
Oh, you and your parents.
Yeah, where I mean, my dad just wasn't around. That was a lost cause. But my mom and I try to relate to each other, but we just really can't.
Yeah, I had a hard time. Like, I mean, I was a rebel also when I was a teenager, and I didn't like my mom for a while. Yeah. So I think that's probably something that probably happens,
Yeah.
Teenagers and rebelling and all that stuff.
Yeah. But also, she doesn't have the capability, really, where other people, I can let it all go now for the most part because of ACA. Thank God I have the tools and stuff. But it's hard. Yeah, to not feel heard all the time. But we're doing a lot better. We're doing a lot better, I have to say. But it's because of ACA.
Yeah, because you understand her physiological, I mean, it's a disability in a lot of ways. And so now you're able to say, okay, there's a solution for this, and let's, follow. I mean, I agree that. So once you know what the problem is, it's much easier to do the things to work around it and overcome the challenges and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So let's see. We had talked a little bit about you being codependent, and I'm just gonna say this, and then you can just tell me what you think. It might be way off. Okay, so don't be offended or anything. But I am interested in the idea of mental slavery. I had told you that I'm making one of the big stories that I'm working on, definitely kind of covers that topic of mental slavery. And that's why, like, with sex slavery, I mean, that's definitely,
oh, wow.
I think, most prostitutes are kind of under this mental, and it's a mental slavery, right? Because many of them can physically, they are able to leave if they want to, but it's the mind, which, is basically being controlled and not allowing them to leave. And I think like, you know, being a child of two narcissistic parents that are also alcoholics and, you know, don't know how to handle frustration and anger, that in a big way is they're basically creating a slave out of you. Like they are taking control of your mind and they're saying like she serves us basically, like you know, she's here to do what we want her to do. And that kind of makes, in a way, so you're basically like programmed to be codependent, right? You're programmed to say, and just like your grandma said, you know, you're be agreeable so that people keep you, you know, invite you along and you can be part of, have fun and all that good stuff. I mean, it sounds like even in your family for generations, that was kind of a cycle of, and even I think, you know, that rings, I feel like that's like something in the 50s, you know, that women were told, like magazines, I'm guessing, were said that kind of stuff. Your grandma probably got that from, you know, women's magazines at the time, you know? So, I mean, do you think that that's kind of, do you think that that's kind of, legitimate thinking, you know, along those lines?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if I could go back and reparent myself, and that's, I have gone back and reparent myself.
Yeah.
If I could go back really young, I would be like, do not listen to that. But yeah, I had to control them to make my life okay. Like, are they okay? Then I can be okay. And I couldn't just have my own feelings. I couldn't have, like, wasn't allowed to have my own feelings.
You would get
and if I had a feeling, it was denied. Like I was told that I was too sensitive. I you know, my feelings were wrong. So I never was allowed to have my own feelings. So then you know, unless you heal, you're going to gravitate towards people that have the same issues.
Needs. Yeah.
So that's what I did for a long time. So yeah, it's heaven having me to myself now, and not having being able to have my own feelings, and it's not anybody's fault, but I will, if you're here, I'm going to make sure you feel okay, so then I can feel okay. So it's really nice having this time to really put my feelings first, and having Zoom where I just go, and then I'm not worrying about somebody else's feelings. But I am getting better at blocking that, at letting people have their own feelings, because it's also selfish. I mean, I was programmed to do that, but it's also selfish. Everybody has their own, like they need their own dignity to have their own experience.
Right. Like and we can deal with our own challenge. We can deal with our own, it's our own responsibility to deal with our own feelings. It's not
because I'm
your responsibility.
If I'm trying to fix you so that you're comfortable, you're not, it's enabling you, and you're not going to have your bottom to get you to rise up. So it's really making somebody dependent on me, and so I'm learning so much. And now where before I would try to really avoid narcissists and stuff, like now I'm like kind of not scared of them anymore, because I feel
huge.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really kind of excited about it, because I want to be able to be so myself that, like, now I welcome the challenge of me staying myself when somebody is trying so hard to, like,
that's not enormous.
Yeah, it's kind of really exciting.
So I do want to dig into that a little bit more. So just to be really clear to anybody who maybe doesn't understand the codependent thing, I think kind of a interesting way to maybe explain it is to talk about your, well, maybe just talking about what codependence is, which is basically, I'll say kind of what I think it is in in regards to your story, and then you can say, you can say it in probably better words. But, so basically you were being codependent with but really with both of your parents, because in order to feel normal or to feel good about your own self, you would have to, your feelings would be dependent on whether or not they felt good and they were comfortable. Is that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I can give a good example of it. All my life, I just wanted my mom to be happy, but then I could be happy. I could not physically be happy unless my mom was happy. Until I found alcohol, then I could. Like while I was drinking, I could be happy without her being happy. But so my mom finally got divorced, and then she was just complaining about the house. So she was always complaining about him. Then she was complaining about taking care of the house. Then she moved into a condo. She sold the house and moved into a condo, and she loved the condo. And I lived close by. All my friends were around there. I could come visit all the time. She was in heaven there. And then I moved to Pennsylvania, and she followed. And I was like, Mom, do not follow me. Stay. And I was on cloud 9 because she was finally happy. And I would even say it. I'm finally happy because my mom's happy.
Wow.
It was very clear on it. I didn't know it was codependency, and I said it all the time. I'm happy because my mom's happy. So then I moved to Philly, and she was like, I'm going to move there too. And I'm like, Mom, I'm going to move a lot. I have a feeling about it. And she was just like, no, I'm going to go. And she moved outside of Philly to a different town, and she's still there, and she's stuck in jeans. But at least recently she admitted it. She was like, you were so right. I never should have moved there. And I was like, but the old me would have been like, well, how can we move you back? Like, what can we do? What steps can we do? And I was like, it doesn't matter.
Your choice. You did it.
Yeah. Her happiness does not like make mine any different way. And now, because I'm able to pull out from all that, like nothing. I know, like, since I don't have to have my mom to be happy for me to be happy, nobody has to be happy. Like, I don't have to be happy for a specific reason. I can be happy. Like, the best time in my life is when I'm like happy for no reason. It's like, oh, it's heaven.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's pretty, I can't even imagine how it would feel, to have gone your entire life having your happiness depend on another person's feelings, which you really can't control most of the time. It's hard enough to control your own or to like try to maintain on your own, and then being able to, it's got to be like, just like looking at the sunset on the ocean, just that feeling of sublime. So how did you, what told you, how did you find out that you were codependent? Like, how did you realize that?
I was really codependent with my ex-wife. We both were, we both grew up in hard families. She had a hard family too. So we just like became enmeshed. We were both so independent when we met. And then we became so enmeshed that I kind of knew we were codependent. But I still didn't go to meetings or anything. I just thought, I didn't even know there was meetings or anything. I just thought if we break up, then I'll start over and I won't be codependent. And I did pretty well, not really. Then I dated other people, and it just became manifested in different ways.
So you saw it happening in multiple relationships. You saw something like not working in multiple relationships.
So then when I got sober, I stayed out of relationships for a long time. But just last night, I ended a relationship with a woman who, I hope you're not watching, who she said, she's like, I can't deal with your texting style. She's like, I need so much more attention. And I was like, because I wouldn't she's like, I feel like you text me and then leave your phone and just go off for a while. And I'm like, I do different things. Like I'm on shows, I'm doing, you know, and she's like, I really need more attention from, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to give that to you.
Pretty huge.
Yeah. Well, the old me, even if I, the old me would have been like, oh, I'll change.
Yeah.
I was just realistic. Like, I'm not going to be able to give that to you. And you need to do it yourself.
Yeah. That's amazing.
You know? Like I have so much sobriety and so much of a good relationship with, like I meditated in the morning for 20 minutes. Like that's what I need. I don't need her validation, where that was not the case before. I would never be able to be alone right now during the pandemic. Never.
Yeah.
Like even when it started, like I was like, should I get stuck with this woman? And my ex-wife was like, should you come here? Where should you go? Like she was worried about me too. She's like, do you want to go for Debs? And I was like, I think I can be by myself. I'm like, I think I can do it. And like cut to it so much time later. And I'm still like, I love it.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you launched Between Two Urns, a series in that time. I mean,
Yep.
you've done some huge things.
A podcast.
You've launched your podcast.
Yeah. And now I'm launching a show.
Yep, on the Twitch show.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I think we've been going. How long have we been going?
I taught myself one chord on the ukulele.
Huh?
I taught myself one chord on the ukulele.
That's huge.
Well, I started another show, Never Normal. Did I tell you about this?
No, I don't know. Never Normal. What is it?
It's my friend Renee Santos. She's a comedian as well.
I feel like
And she's a queer comedian who's also
okay.
And so it's just us having a conversation every week live, and we record it, and we're probably gonna put it on a podcast and put it on YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah, you did. You told me about her and about so the Never Normal is the show?
Mm-hmm. Well,
okay. Yeah, you did tell me about the idea, I think. Yeah. Cool. So you launched it officially.
Yeah. But we're gonna do sketches and stuff. We took some videos, but it's mostly just us catching up right now. But it's fun.
Good stuff. So let's
about
see.
An hour.
Let me scroll through. I do have quite a bit more. I think it might be making sense to schedule one more interview after this. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. All right.
You look so pretty. I love that shirt with your hair. You look really beautiful.
So I was like, what do I have that I don't have to iron in my closet?
I love it. Yeah, you look beautiful.
Thanks. You look beautiful too. I like that. Is it a dress or is it a shirt?
It's a shirt.
Oh, it's really nice. Yeah, it looks really pretty with your hair. The color combo is nice. All right. Well, what are you going to do the rest of the day?
Party down. I'm writing with Madeline.
Oh, yay. That's awesome. All right. Well, I can't wait to see whatever you work on.
Yeah, I'm going to send you my proposal soon.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Love you.
Thank you. I love you. Bye.
Bye.